Okay guys, this is also a simultaneous equation. They say we should solve this pair of equations simultaneously. Now, I want to drag your attention to something, when you have simultaneous equations to solve, alright? When you have simultaneous equations to solve, you always have two variables in which you're going to look for the answer. You have two variables like x and y. Okay, can I do something here? Let's not be using y too much. Let's use another thing. Okay, so you see this kind of equation. So when you have an equation like this to solve, where you have two different variables, you must always use the knowledge of simultaneous equation. When you have equations to solve and they have two different variables, without being told like this, they say solve these equations. You see, you just have to know that you have to solve them simultaneously because there are two variables. Okay, two different variables. And of course, for you to find those two different variables, you need two equations. Okay, to at least two equations to be able to find two variables. Now, if there were up to three variables, you will need three equations to solve it. Okay, that's by the way, but it's very important. Okay, so let's solve this guy. Like we also talked about it earlier, we are going to try this using both elimination and substitution method. So we start with the elimination method. Now, if you do what I did in the last example, on the elimination method, you're not going to get an answer. Alright? You will not be able to eliminate anything. Remember that in the elimination method, what we did was subtract one equation from the other. Sometimes it might require us to add, okay? But what we did in the other example was subtract one equation from the other. So looking at this equation, if I call this equation 1 and equation 2, this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. I'm using this for short to represent equation. Alright, so if I subtract, look at 3p minus p is going to give me 2p. Minus 4q minus q is going to give me minus 3q. Let me show you what that means. Minus 4q minus q. Okay, so this is going to be minus 4q. Minus is plus q, right? So minus 4q plus q is going to give me minus 3q. Okay, because it's like saying 4 minus 1 to give me 3, right? 4q minus 1 cube will give me 3q. Now if I since minus 4 this is more than the plus. Okay, actually this will be treated in lesson on what do I call it, on directed numbers. I'll treat that. So if you don't understand this idea of this subtraction, you can look up our lessons on what is it called now, directed numbers. So okay, so I subtracted this, okay, equation 2 from equation 1, but I don't have an answer. I don't have something here because this is not working. Okay, this is not working. I've not eliminated anything. So how do I now proceed in order to be able to eliminate something? I'm going to do this. I'll multiply. Now for you to eliminate, like I said earlier, the coefficient of the two numbers in which the two variables, the coefficient of the variable in the two equations must be the same. What I mean is that if the coefficient of p here is 3, the coefficient of p here is 1. Okay? Now, if for this elimination cannot be possible except I make the coefficient of p here to become 3 as it is in this one. So to make that the coefficient of p here to become 3, I'm going to multiply equation 2. This is our equation 2. This is equation 1. I'm going to multiply equation 2 by 3. Okay? I'm going to multiply equation 2 by 3. if I multiply equation 2 by 3, why am I using 3? Because 3 is the coefficient of p in this equation, and I want p in the second equation to also have 3 as its coefficient. So that's why I'm multiplying equation 2 by 3. So that will now become 3p minus 4q equals 17. Then, since I'm using 3 to multiply this one now, I'm going to have 3 into p minus q equals 6. Alright, I'm using 3 to multiply everything here, right? That's p minus q equals 6. So when I multiply, I'm going to get, for the first equation, I have 3p minus 4q equals 17. Then 3 times p here is going to give me 3p. 3 times minus q is going to give me minus 3q. And 3 times 6 is going to give me 18. Alright, so you see that. So now, since the coefficients here are now the same, the coefficient here and the coefficient here are now the same, so I'm going to do my subtraction. So when I subtract, I can call this guy equation 3. So let me subtract. I have 3p minus 3p to be 0. Minus 4q minus 3q is going to give me minus 1q. Then 17 minus 18 is going to give me minus 1. So I have minus q equals minus 1, but I'm looking for q, the variable q. So what I'll do is to divide both sides by minus 1. Divide both sides by minus 1. Now look at this. So I have minus q divided by minus 1 equals minus 1 divided by minus 1. So minus cancels minus. We are left with q, because minus divided by minus is positive. Minus 1 divided by minus 1 is 1. Okay, so q, we have gotten a value for q as 1. Alright, so now that we have gotten the value of q as 1, after doing this elimination, what we are going to do next is to find p. Okay, so I can use any of the equations, okay, starting from here, this or this, or even this guy, this one. Okay, remember this is the one I got from the multiplication, which I can call equation 3. This is equation 1, this is equation 2. Alright, so having said that, I can use any of this equation to get my p. Alright, so let's do that now. Please, if I clean this up in a hurry, please just do yourself the favor, go backward, pause the video, and right. So 3p minus 4q is equals to 17. But we know that, q, so I'm using equation 1 now. Let me erase this guy. I'm using equation 1. So I'll say using equation 1. I can use equation 2. So, but q is equal to 1, right? So I'm going to take the value of q and put it in equation 1. So I'm going to have 3p minus 4. Q is 1 equals 17. So this will be 3p. 4 times 1 is 4. So minus 4 here equals 17. So this will now become 3p equals, since we have this equation 3p minus 4, all we are going to do is to add 4 to both sides. Add 4 to both sides. So this is going to be 3p minus 4 plus 4 equals 17 plus 4. Equals 17 plus 4. So this will be 3p minus 4 plus 4, which will give us 3p, because minus 4 plus 4 is 0. Okay, and 17 plus 4 is going to be 21. So since we are looking for p alone, we divide both sides by 3. Okay, so we divide both sides by 3. So this cancels out. We are going to have p equals 21 divided by 3 is 7. Alright, 21 divided by 3 is 7. So that's the answer here. we are done. So you can see we can have that the answer is telling us that P is equal to 7 and Q is equals to 1. So if you put this, okay, in fact, let's do this here. If P is 7 and Q is 1, 7 minus 1 is 6, right? So if you check it for this other one, it should be correct. Okay, so that's how equations are being solved. That's how simultaneous equations are being solved. So, okay, we've not done this using substitution method. So let's also solve this using substitution method. I do have time. Let's do that using substitution method. Now, in using substitution method for this problem, we need to make one of the variables to be a subject formula in one of the equations. Now, to do that, it will be easier from, okay, now just watch what I'm going to do. I'll explain why I did it. From equation 2, we have P minus Q equals 6, right? P minus Q equals 6. Now, but looking at it now, I can simply say that P will be equal to, I move Q across the equality sign, it will become 6 plus Q. P is going to become 6 plus Q, right? Because minus Q moved across the equality sign. Now, from what I have done now, somebody might ask, why did I not use equation 1 to, make any of the variables the subject of the formula? Now, this is something you must know. It is often better to use the equations with coefficient of 1. Okay, like you can see here, the coefficient of P here is 1, coefficient of Q here is minus 1. So it's better to use this equation to make your equation 3 than to use this one. Are you getting me? Than to use this one, because if you want to do this, you're going to get a complex equation on this other side, which will really make solving your problems stressful. It's not like it cannot be done, but it's going to be demanding. Okay, so with this that I've done, let's now proceed to substitution proper. Okay, in this equation, I can also decide to make minus Q the subject of the formula and substitute. It depends on your preference. Okay, now actually with time, as you keep solving more problems, you will see why you need to follow the easy way out, right? So that's it. So with this now, I'm going to have P. I already have P equals 6 plus Q, right? So substituting into equation 1, okay, into equation 1. Remember, P is 6 plus Q. So anywhere I see P in equation 1, I should replace it with 6 plus Q with this guy. So that means that 3P will no longer be 3P, but it will now become 3 into 6 plus Q. I'm using a bracket because it is not one term. P here is 2 terms, and this 3 actually is multiplying P. That is multiplying the both of them, so I put it in a bracket. Then minus 4Q equals 17. So 3 times, I'll now have to clear this bracket, okay? I have to clear this bracket. So 3 times 6 gives me 18. 3 times Q gives me 3Q. Then minus 4Q equals 17. You see that? So with what is here, let me simplify the left hand side. So I'm going to get 18 plus 3Q minus 4Q is going to give me minus 1Q. Remember, I'm not writing the 1 because this alone is enough to tell me that I have 1Q here. Okay, equals 17 here. So, of course, since I'm looking for Q alone, I'll have to move this guy across the equality sign. So I'm going to get 17 minus 18. So minus Q becomes 17 minus 18 is minus 1. So I'll divide both sides. By minus 1. By minus 1. So when I divide, minus Q divided by minus 1 equals minus 1 divided by minus 1. So this will cancel. I'll get Q. Minus 1 divided by minus 1 is 1. Alright. So that's it, right? It's the same thing as what we got earlier. So we can just simply substitute 1 into any of the equation, we can just simply substitute 1 into any of the equation. Like since q is 1 now, we can look at this equation where we have p equals 6 plus q, but we know that q is 1, therefore p will become 6 plus 1, so p will just be what? 7. So that's it, the problem is solved. So we are going to also look at another example and how to approach it.